Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly values, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey everybody. Thank you, Chris Johnson, for kicking it off with the contributions. I can't wait for this continuation. Hit the like button on the way in. Yes, please hit the like button on the way in. Thank you so much, Chris Johnson. Okay. Officer Cujo, wow. He said on the third day of Hyena History Month, I would like to celebrate Synthetic G. Her contribution to the synthetic bang market can't be understated. Put your paws in the air. Y'all, you silly. So, yes, that is a cat in the background. That is a cat. If you hear it in the that is a cat. Okay. So we are not going to waste time dilly-dallying. Hello everybody. We are just going to delve right in because we actually have a lot to cover because the root was a long chapter and it had so many gems. I wanted to move to tangle of pathology. We may or may not be able to get there because the root of the issue is really where the bulk of a lot of this comes from. So what I'm going to do is share the screen. We're going to jump right to this. Okay. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Okay. This is still dealing with the root. So if you're just joining me, this is part 4 of going over the Moynihan Report and Black women breaking the Black family. Okay. And we're delving into what has gone on to create the situation that seems perpetual. It seems like it's never going to end. It seems, so, okay, we're just going to start. Within the family, each new generation of young males learns the appropriate nurturing behavior and superimposed upon their biologically given maleness, this learned parental role. When the family breaks down, as it does under slavery, under certain forms of indentured labor and serfdom, in periods of extreme social unrest during wars, revolutions, famines, and epidemics, or in periods of abrupt transition from one type of economy to another, this delicate line of transmission is broken. Before we continue on, I would love to point out the fact that the Black family and Black men have faced each of these things pretty almost simultaneously or in succession. Either simultaneously or in succession. Things that break a family, right? Slavery, we did that. Which could then be under certain forms of indentured labor and serfdom, periods of extreme social unrest during wars. We had the American Revolution and then the Civil War. Revolutions, famines, okay? The Great Depression spanning from, I believe, 1929 to 1932 or some such. Epidemics, okay? In periods of abrupt transition from one type of economy to another, the end of the Civil War and then Reconstruction. So the Black family and Black men have actually faced all of these in the whole time that they've been here in America. This delicate line of transmission is broken. What are they talking about? The line of transmission from what men in a group learn to become to be. Men may founder badly in these periods, during which the primary unit may again become mother and child, the biologically given, and the special condition under which man has held his social tradition in trust are violated and distorted. So now it's starting to get into the formation of the gynocracy. This is what we're listening to right now. E. Franklin Frazier makes clear that at the time of emancipation, Negro women were already accustomed to playing the dominant role in family and marriage relations, and that this role persisted in the decades of rural life that followed. Now we come to urbanization. Country life and city life are profoundly different. The gradual shift of American society from a rural to an urban basis over the past century and a half has caused abundant strains, many of which are still much in evidence. When this shift occurs suddenly, drastically, in 1 or 2 generations, the effect is immensely disruptive of traditional social patterns. It was this abrupt transition that produced the wild Irish slums of the 19th century Northeast. Drunkenness, crime, corruption, discrimination, family disorganization, juvenile delinquency were the routine of that era. In our own time, the same sudden transition has produced the Negro slum, different from but hardly better than its predecessor, and fundamentally the result of the same process. Negroes are now more urbanized than whites. I'm going to say something to this stuff. Let me read a little bit further. Negro families in the cities are more frequently headed by a woman than those in the country. The difference between the white and Negro proportion of families headed by a woman is greater in the city than in the country. The promise of the city has so far been denied the majority of Negro migrants, and most particularly the Negro family. Now, what are they talking about? Let me come back. Now, they mention the ghettos that the Irish were a part of, okay? The Irish slums. They had many of the same issues, identical issues that black people in the hood have. The dysfunction, the drunkenness, the crime, the drug usage, the broken families, the broken homes, and all of these sorts of things were there. What is it that made the Irish, that stopped the Irish from going down that continued destructive path? What was it? What happened to the Irish? My group should get this. What happened to the Irish? Thank you, Lion of Judah. Thank you, Mike M. Lion of Judah and Mike M got it. They made them white. They made them white. The Irish got accepted into whiteness. Ta-da! Problem solved. Now, why is whiteness the problem solver? Why is that the problem solver? Because just like what happened, what they described happening to the slaves in Brazil who were able to come out of slavery or work themselves out of slavery or buy themselves out of slavery, then were able to become full members of the society, basically. They became Brazilian. Not white, not black. They became Brazilian. See, they did a real clever thing. They associated whiteness with American. Instead of American being American, American mean white. And everybody sees it that way. Black people see it that way, and white people see it that way. Non-whites and non-blacks that come to this country also see it that way. Okay? The pathway to whiteness was open to Asians. The pathway to whiteness is actually being opened to Hispanics as well. The Irish were inducted into whiteness. the path of whiteness, it was open to them. Once the path of whiteness is opened, you can then be considered fully American with the ability to take advantage of everything that America has to offer an American. Black people will never be fully recognized as American because American equal white. And we will never be William Cartwright. And we will never be Mrs. Cartwright. Because it is. And because of the way in which it was constructed, America means white. To be American means white. We still think that. There are those of us in the black community that don't like it when other black people join the military. And we don't like when other black people join the military, when black men join the military, because we don't see ourselves as American. We see white people as American, and we see this country belonging to them. And this system belongs to them. So when we see a black cop or a black military personnel, some of us be thinking they sold out because now they serve the institution of whiteness. You going over there fighting for these people, these ain't even your people. We don't see ourselves as American. We will never be completely assimilated into this system or into this country as full-blooded Americans. We will never do that. Thank you, Professor said facts. 3/5 compromise was never amended. Thank you to guy in the black suit that reminded him about Cabrini Green being an original Irish slum and how after the Irish were accepted as white, they put the blacks in. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vincenzo. So I bought my copy of the Moynihan book. I miss why you stopped advertising for BLM petition and the Black Male Leadership Program. Who will handle the future monies? I will have to revisit that at some point. Why I stopped with the Black Lives Matter petition. Black Lives Matter essentially does not exist, and that's something that I ended up finding out. Black Lives Matter is a hashtag and a concept in La La Land. It is not real. It's not real. So we don't see ourselves as white. And thank everyone for their contributions. I definitely appreciate them. We don't see ourselves as American. So when people was like, make America great again, we don't identify with that. Black people, by and large, do not identify with being American. We see American as being white. We don't like to see other black people wave the flag. We don't like to see other black people. We don't like to see that because that is not, we are not integrated into it. We don't see ourselves that way. Thank you, Theo. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, 39 Dina. So because we don't see it that way, for the most part, many of us don't. We don't see this country as belonging to us or us having any attachment to it. I used to think that way. What stopped me from thinking that way was this. My ancestors died here. Blood is shed here. They are buried here. The bones of my ancestors are here. Not in West Africa, not in Ghana, where my ancestry say my other ancestors come from. The bones of my ancestors are here. They spilled blood here. They spilled sweat here. They died on this land. This my land. This my land. I was born here. My mother was born here. Her mother was born here. Her mother's father was born here. My father was born. This our land. Everywhere around this, we see us. We see us. What we built, the infrastructure that this country stands on is the infrastructure built by my ancestors that they call slaves. My line is here. That's what stopped me from thinking like that. Because if America got invaded today by some unknown entity who waged war on us, they are not going to separate black people and say, oh, we don't see y'all as American. We're here. We are here. When they take taxes from me, they take them here. Other people see us as American. When we go across this world, we are seen as American. Black Americans, yes, but we're seen as American. As soon as we open our mouths, we are Americans. Go anywhere on this planet, you open your mouth, you're an American. Oh, you're from America. This country would not be in the position it is in now as a superpower if not for the work and the blood and the sweat and the tears and the death of my ancestors. So we actually got more right to it than anybody. Thank you, Stardust. Thank you. I be giving some of our own the side out. How are you investing immigrants are fleeing, yet Black Americans are doing the same, not solving issues here. Ooh. Let me come back. Oh. Before I go back to I wanted to talk about the urbanization. Why is that important? Why is it an important difference between urbanization and being in rural America? Rural America is slower and it doesn't have the demands. I'm going to tell you what the real difference was. Samson O'Kelly, thank you so much. You can be an American and yet detach yourself from the powers that run it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Why urbanization is different from rural. See, the blacks that came to the city didn't have money. When they came from the South, when they came from their farmland and things of that nature, how they were living in rural America, and then coming to urbanized metropolitan America, it was a big difference because when you in a urban city, you can't get by in life the same way you did when you lived rural. Okay? When our grandmothers, great grandmothers, stuff like that, was living in the rural America, they didn't necessarily have money, but they also didn't need it as much as you need it in the city. Because if I have chickens that's laying eggs, if I have a house that we built, if I have enough wood to stoke the fireplace and the stove, if I have a couple of goats, if I have, fruit trees that are growing on my land, if I have the ability to eat without necessarily spending no money to eat, I got the ability to live without necessarily spending a lot of money to live, then money, to me, I don't need a whole lot of it in order to do what I'm doing. You get the stuff that you're not growing, a little flour, a little sugar, a little this, a little that. You know what I'm saying? If I can sew my own clothes, if I can do all of these things myself, then I can have the stuff I need without necessarily needing the money to do it. But you take that same family and you put them in Chicago. You take that same family and you put them in Harlem. You take that same family and you put them in Detroit. You take that same family and you put them in LA. You take that same family, you understand what I mean? Take that same family. They don't have access to the land. They can't grow their own greens and peppers and potatoes and onions and stuff like that. They don't have nowhere to keep a chicken. They don't have nowhere to keep. So now all of the stuff that I was using to survive and eat and live, and I didn't necessarily need cash in order to have those things in abundance and at my disposal, that is now taken away, and now I need cash. Now I don't have that. And if I do not have cash, I now cannot live. The poverty look a lot different. Same poverty, different environment, different result. Thank you, Sister Beth Shua. Say, hey, sis, sorry I'm late for the lecture and late fee. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And thank you again, Black Wizards. That rural environments also require man's labor. Urbanization makes a man's labor less and less necessary as technology gets more sophisticated. Correct. So a family, a husband who didn't have that money but could maintain his land, his home, his animals, his farm, so that his family is living, he's providing for his family adequately at that level. Take that same man with that same family and put him in Cabrini Green. Put him in the slums of Baltimore. Put him in the slums of Philly. Put him in the slums of, like I said, Harlem, or put him over there. Now he's too poor to take care of his family. Now he's too poor. Now he'll be looked at when he can't go get this job, this factory job or this job or that job that make a certain amount of money to now live equally to what he had been living before. Now he needs more money to live the same way, or maybe even worse. He needs more money to live the same or worse. Now he is a deadbeat. Now he is not a good husband. He's not a good father. He's not a good provider. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bad man. He's an uncaring man. You see how that turns? Thank Thank you, Dominic Gassi said, you are the wave. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, Mogul said, many blacks went into the manufacturing industry, which America outsourced. Then they took the skills trades from the schools gradually and gave it to white unions. Crazy. Then feminine ideology, etc. Precisely. See, it's gonna get into the poverty and the unemployment, locking black men. Okay, because a lot now you may ask, if that's the case, Crimson Cure, why did black men move their families from rural areas to urban areas? Because they needed to also escape Jim Crow, the KKK, being lynched. You see what I'm saying? They were being terrorized there also. And stifled economically. So even if he wanted more, it was difficult for him to do more. Thank you, Rugged Tech. He said, Booker T. Washington always said black people do better in America in the rural areas over the cities. They lose themselves in the cities. And I'm from a city, so I know. Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Excellence, at 10th Mountain Division put of Fort Drum, New York. I was field artillery. I joined after the towers fell and did 2 tours in Iraq. I made it home. This is my land. I fought to get back to my land. I am an American. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dusty says, I'm from the book of They So Lonely and 6 and that yay. Spite and venom only grow out of the seed soul in empty and cobweb valleys. These unbounded maidens, she shall smite thee and every opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Miss Beth, sister. Said there are tons of vacant lots and some have been converted to community gardens. A lot of white folks are using them, and we need to erase the stigma that gardening and growing food isn't slavery. Right. And then in the city, you're actually prevented from growing food. Even if you get you a house with a yard and stuff like that. They be having ordinances where you can't grow your food. Certainly you can't have little animals. I do not care if you purchase the home and then you purchase like land around it. If it's within the city ordinances and zones and blah, 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 blah. Like you can't have that stuff. So, you about 4 little chickens and a rooster, you get you some eggs and, sometimes you might get 1 or 2 little pygmy goats and stuff. You can't have that. You can't have that. You can't have that. They can have all them dogs, but you can't have nothing, for you to eat. Thank you, Pernell Jean-Pierre said the active enemies live and run the cities. We vote for them. Yeah. Yeah. So that is why it's important that the Moynihan Report is pointing out the difference between urban living and rural living, and why putting us on top of each other was such a horrible thing, to put us in a place where you needed money and capital in order to live versus your rural area where you didn't need as much and you didn't need it in the same way. Thank you again, Sister Beth Shua said here in Philly they banned chickens in 2004, but there are still people with them. Fortunately, growing food in your yard isn't banned. Yeah. Because they'll call themselves banning chickens because, chickens are supposedly dirty and the avian flu. They'll make up something. It's an animal that's not, like a cat or dog or blah, 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 blah. And, they'll make up, I can make up several, bogus ordinances off the top of my head while you were banning chicken. why they think it would be good to ban a chicken. You understand what I'm saying? I would love to have a pygmy goat, by the way. I really would love to have land and then have you a couple of little pygmy goats. Some little pygmy goats so cute. Ooh, they so cute and they bad as the dickens, them little goats. But they just as cute as they want to be. They hops on everything. Ooh, I want to see the little pygmy goats. They so cute. I love little goats. I really do. And they so bad. Speaking of little pygmy goat, listen, little goats is just cute. Okay, they is cute. They just the little cutest little things. And they friendly. And they'll eat your scarf. Anyway, thank you, Black Wizard. Said Jim Crow was slavery all over again, and the South was badly damaged after the war. All the high-paying jobs, decent living were in the northern industry, just like today in the global tech market. Exactly. So Black Wizard is saying, thank you so much, sweetheart, saying why Black families migrated from the South, especially after the war and during Reconstruction on into northern territories. The jobs were there. Like you said, the South is devastated. A lot of the infrastructure is bad. And any benefit, they're not going to give it to you. They're going to take it first. So between a rock and a hard place, so many Black families was in a rock and a hard place. Like, how do we move forward? How do we continue to grow? How do we continue to be prosperous or become prosperous? How do we do that? Well, maybe we'll find better luck in the North where all of the industries are at. And maybe I can find a job. Maybe I can work in a factory. Maybe I can do this or do that. Have high hopes moving to the cities and high hope moving to the cities only for those hopes to be dashed against the rocks. Thank you, E. Chairs. I was writing a book for my young daughter when you mentioned you were coming out with a book. Happy I waited. Good to see a similar understanding of femininity as a dad. It's good to see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But while we're laughing and smiling about the cuteness of a little pygmy goat, they so cute. I love little pygmy goats. I don't like chickens. I actually don't like chickens. I don't like the hens or the roosters. The roosters are mean and so are the hens. I actually don't like chickens. Chickens peck. Chickens get at you. They're bigger than you think they are as well. Yeah, chickens are mean. I don't really want no smoke with chickens like that. I don't really want no smoke with chickens like that. Chickens be on one. Hey, get the hey, you know what I'm saying? Don't target me. I ain't even doing nothing. I ain't ate scrambled eggs in 4 mornings. Like, leave me alone. Anyway, I get off on a tangent, but while I'm here, let me go ahead and take this break. If you are in the Atlanta metropolitan area or you have friends, family, anyone with children with a birthday coming up, then you will enjoy this word from our sponsor. So after these messages, we'll be right back.
Average game truck parties are a virus, but gamer versus gamer is the cure. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer.
Happy birthday.
Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus
Gamer versus Gamer. We look forward to treating your child like the most important kid in the world on their birthday.
Hi, Gamer versus Gamer. Thank you so much for my birthday party.
I absolutely love being sponsored by Gamer versus Gamer, just because they have such wonderful values as a company, and they really are looking out for the family and looking out for children, and having this wonderful birthday service for children helps to create these lasting memories that our children get to carry the rest of their lives. It truly is a love letter to your child. And you may be asking, what is Gamer versus Gamer? It is a birthday celebration in a 30-foot trailer, right? It's so much more than anything about necessarily gaming in a truck. It's really about putting together this wonderful, very detailed, very planned and purposed birthday party with themes and everything, complete with catering food, the cakes, the ice creams, all of the things that a child might want at their birthday party. All that you need to do is hit the link at the top of the chat at gamerversusgamer.com. Go to that website, speak to the wonderful people at Gamer versus Gamer to discuss with them all of the things that you want to happen at your child's birthday party. And a lot of times we just do not have time to look into all of these different details and figure out this and that and the logistics of everything. With Gamer versus Gamer, you don't have to worry about the logistics. We let them worry about the logistics, and they do an excellent job. They show up at the site with a 30-foot trailer filled to the brim with so much of what your child and their friends and the family are going to want to see. Sometimes even with red carpets and all of that, like a movie premiere or something that children will really cherish and really remember. So again, if you're in Atlanta or you have family, friends, children who have a birthday coming up soon within the next couple of months, these are the people that you want handling that birthday party, all the way down to the cleanup of it. You don't even have to clean up like paper plates and cups, nothing. They take care of everything, and they take care of it excellently and to your satisfaction. So definitely hit the link at the top of the chat, gamerversusgamer.com, and check them out. Okay. Let me go back to a couple of these super chats. Thank you again, Mogul, saying let's not forget about redlining, discriminatory lending practices to where it was just restricted on black businesses and home ownership through these banks. Exactly. Thank you, Uton. So, Sister Davis, I still don't understand why black women were hypersensitive with the report in the 70s. From my perspective, the black race should be angry because it affected all of us. I'm going to tell you why they were hypersensitive about it. And this is really why I'm covering it. The reason why they were hypersensitive about it is because the Moynihan Report pointed out the formation and the maintenance of the gynocracy. And the reason why that was upsetting is because the gynocracy was actually formed during chattel slavery. Once we were so-called emancipated out of chattel slavery, that gynocratic dynamic within the black family and within the black communities and culture actually was maintained by black women, okay? That was maintained by them at every opportunity where they could maintain it. Remember, this report is in 1965, okay? So this is the height of the civil rights movement, but it is also the height of the feminist movement, particularly the second wave, particularly with sexual liberation, particularly, okay? Never forget, a few years after this, I want to say about 7 years or so after this, came the Combahee River, right? I did something on them maybe about 1.5 years ago. The Combahee River Collective, that was black women and their version of feminism that continued to break down the black family at its root. So black women understood what the report was saying, particularly as it pertained to them and their participation in maintaining the brokenness of the black family. So they didn't like the Moynihan Report because they were like, well, why just point out that black women are doing something? Why not say where it's really coming from, the white power structure? Well, the Moynihan Report does point out the white power structure. There's a whole chapter about slavery. However, outside of that is what it's talking about. Outside of those conditions, why is it that the effect of those conditions are still being felt so strongly and played out so prominently in black people? They're actually saying that because black people have a gynocracy is the exact reason, it is the reason why we cannot progress as a group like every other group progresses in America, even if they come in poor or destitute, because they don't operate under a gynocracy. The general American culture is not, or at least at that point was not, a gynocracy, but black people were a gynocracy. Since the plantation, we actually operate backwards versus other people. That's what the report is really saying. The entire report can be summed up like that. Black people operate in a gynocracy. Because they operate in a gynocracy, that means that the women run things, but they run things in such a way that it's not conducive to anything, because the males in their culture are not able to occupy the masculine space in order to do what masculinity actually does. That's why comparing them to hyenas is actually genius. Shout out to Angry Man for that analogy years ago. Years ago, he made the analogy that the black community operated like a hyena clan. And it was so apropos, that's why I still use it. Because to date, I have not found a better analogy to describe the dynamics within black culture, black women, and between black women and black men. So before we get back to this cook, bam, 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 we gotta hit the like button, bam, bam, we gotta we gotta hit the like button. We got 393 people who have hit it. Let's see if we could get the next 400 or 500 people to hit the like button so that we can make our way into the algorithm. Okay. Please hit the like button. Okay. So we're actually going to come back. I was hoping to wrap this up today. I'm probably going to come back at it tomorrow. I don't want to wait till Monday. We got to finish this thought. I was thinking it would be 3 or 4 parts. I should have known better. I really should have known better. Anyway, let's come back. I'm going to start here. First, it appears that the family which evolved within the isolated world of Negro folk will become increasingly disorganized. So he's saying they don't see it getting better, see it getting worse. Modern means of communication will break down the isolation of the world of black folk, and as long as the bankrupt system of Southern agriculture exists, Negro families will continue to seek a living in the towns and cities of the country. They will crowd the slum areas of southern cities or make their way to northern cities where their family life will become disrupted and their poverty will force them to depend upon charity. I want to point out something interesting. He said modern means of communication will break down the isolation of the world of black folk. Social media, he didn't know nothing about this in 1965. But now that we're in 2023, this statement takes a whole new meaning. Modern means of communication, social media, the internet, our interconnectedness of being able to see things from across the country and across the world in the palms of our hands really did break down the isolation of the world of black folk. People can see the dysfunction on full display now. That is what I be talking about when I be talking about the appearance value. I be talking about this. Everybody sees the dysfunction. They may not understand how the dysfunction got there or why we have the kind of dysfunction that we do, but they see it nevertheless. So what happens with us in the hood used to be hush hush. People didn't understand it. Now they see it on full display. They see it's all over TikTok. Okay. In every index of family pathology, divorce, separation, and desertion, female family head, children in broken homes, and illegitimacy, he places female family head under family pathology. I need black women to understand that you are promoting something, it's black single motherhood, that is filed under a pathology. And your illegitimate kids. In every index of family pathology, divorce, separation, and desertion, female family head, broken child in broken home, and illegitimacy, the contrast between the urban and rural environment for Negro families is unmistakable. Harlem, into which Negroes began to move early in this century, is the center and symbol of urban life of the Negro American. Conditions in Harlem are not worse, they're probably better than most Negro ghettos. Social disorganization of Central Harlem, comprising 10 health areas, was thoroughly documented by the Moynihan Report, save for the illegitimacy rate. These have now been made available to the Labor Department by the New York City Department of Health. There could hardly be a more dramatic demonstration of the crumbling, the breaking of the family structure on the urban frontier. Now we get into unemployment and poverty. The impact of unemployment on the Negro family, and particularly the Negro male. See, this is what I be talking about. Anyway, it is the least understood of all the developments that have contributed to the present crisis. There's little analysis because there has been almost no inquiry. The reason, I'm going to come back briefly. The reason why there has been no inquiry on the effect of denying black men employment is because everybody know what that do. Ask a question for what? An inquiry for what? We inquiring about it for what? We already know that if we make black men by and large, if we make them financially obsolete, if we lock them out of job markets, if we lock them out of these places, we lock them out, then they're going to be poor. And if they're too poor to take care of their families, then the women will be ripe for the picking. If we come at them with these entitlement programs at this critical moment where the men are, you know what I'm saying, between a rock and a hard place, not able to make money because there are no opportunities, the opportunities become less and less and less for employment for a Negro male, then she is ripe for the picking. So that when we come to her and tell her to oust her man in order to get a morsel of food for her and her kids, she gonna do it. She gonna do it. Do it. Do it. She gonna do it. She gonna do it. Thank you, Thank you, Miss Bella said if you had 10 parts, we would still be here. You're doing great. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, Black Wizard said you have to put together a playlist. I am going to put the Moynihan Report playlist. You know, I that's a good idea. Thank you so much. That's really a good idea. Thank you again, Utah. Said Sister Davis, I'm confused. If the Europeans create gynocracy in the United States or black women, I need more understanding of the gynocracy. That's on me. A gynocracy is just the rule of women over men. They created it in chattel slavery for us. Okay? A broader sense of that is feminism infiltrating the entire fabric of the culture of America, not just black people, but we are the gynocracy. Everybody else is under feminism. Gynocracy is a more potent and more destructive form of the ideals of feminism. It's the ideal of feminism taken to its logical but extreme conclusion. Hence a gynocracy. Okay. Unemployment for whites and non-whites alike has, on the whole, been treated as an economic phenomenon, with almost no attention paid for at least a quarter century to social and personal consequences. In 1940, Edward White Bake described the effects of unemployment on family structure in terms of 6 stages of adjustment. Although the families studied were white, the pattern would clearly seem to be a general one and apply to Negro families as well. First 2 stages end with the exhaustion of credit and the entry of the wife into the labor force. The father is no longer the provider and the elder children become resentful. The third stage is the critical one of commencing a new day-to-day existence. At this point, 2 women are in charge. Consider the fact that relief investigators or caseworkers are normally women and deal with the housewife, already suffering a loss in prestige and authority in the family because of his failure to be the chief breadwinner. The male head of the family feels deeply this obvious transfer of planning for the family's well-being to 2 women, one of them an outsider. His role is reduced to that of errand boy to and from the relief office. If the family makes it through this stage, Bake finds that it is likely to survive, and the rest of the process is one of adjustment. The critical element of adjustment was not welfare payments, but work. To give employment, not welfare. The element of adjustment was not welfare, but work. See, they know what they doing. They be knowing what they be doing. It's capped to think that they don't. And to think that these things were done and they didn't understand what the outcome and what the effects were actually going to be long-term, generations, in fact, on black people. They understood that if we keep black men out of work long enough, the black women will take welfare payments. The taking of the welfare payment is not a proper adjustment to the toil and the strife that the family is going through. If you continue to take welfare payments and not work, you will continue in this strife. Are you understanding? So here we have them utilizing the environment against black men again. Having observed our families under conditions of unemployment with no public help or with that help coming from direct and from work relief, we are convinced that after the exhaustion of self-produced resources, work relief is the only type of assistance which can restore the strained bonds of family relationship in a way which promises the continued functioning of that family in meeting the responsibilities imposed upon it by our culture. Work is precisely the one thing the Negro family head in such circumstances has not received over the past generation. Why work? Why do you think work occupies this sacred position? To rectify a lot of the ills of the pathology of the family. Why work? Why do you think it work? Why work? I'll give you why work. I won't make you guess. Work rather than welfare. Because ultimately what they saying is to give the men work puts him back in charge of the family. It corrects the family dynamic again. And so therefore, if the man is given work, he's able to reassume his position in the family. Once he reassumes his position in the family, everything else corrects itself following that repositioning of him in the family, being the head of the family and the head breadwinner and the provider. Now she can see him as this authority again, and order is restored. So work is the way out of that particular type of pathology because it restores order. That's why work. Welfare does not restore order. It gives a means to eat and to live and to be housed, but it does so without order. And I've said this before, it does so without the order of men. Leaving the woman in her chaos to lead a family. They know what they're doing. And we know that they know what they're doing because they're saying this was something that happened, and they understood that how to save them, how to save a part of them, their community, was to give them work. So they understand, especially at that time, if you give black men work to do, they will work. They just spent 400 years of working for you for free. They're not going to do it for money. If you give them work, they'll work. They'll work hard. They'll work themselves to death, actually. We know that they will because we made them do it at some point. So we know that black men will work. All of that black men are lazy stuff, that was white propaganda. We know black men. We know what they do. If you give him proper work with a living wage, he'll work that until he dies. That's why they didn't give it to him. It was indeed intentional. That's like saying chattel slavery was unintended and its effects unintended. We have a people who were savvy enough to come up with a psychological system. And not only was it psychological, they backed it up culturally and they backed it up environmentally to create a system where the people within that system would not be able to, and indeed they would not sometimes even have the desire to free themselves. We dealing with that group of people that came up with that system. So you meaning to tell me that everything after the so-called emancipation, everything that happened after the Civil War, and then going into Reconstruction, to where environmentally the law of the land is that you couldn't hold a slave the same way you had been doing that? You mean to tell me that every move after that was unintentional? The same things did not happen to white people like it happened to black people. There's a percentage of white women and white families that had to do welfare. So that's just an instance of there's always going to be a percentage of poor people in a group of people. So what? There are poor whites. And it's not the same. Because I don't remember the last time it was culturally acceptable for white people to promote single white motherhood. And I don't remember the last time that I seen a whole gaggle of white women build a whole culture of white culture around them being women and saying that they were strong and independent and didn't need no man. White women do not lead the charge in baby deletions. Planned Parenthoods aren't on the corner of every white neighborhood. They're in the corner of every black neighborhood. It's not the same. Thank you, James Mitchell. Thank you, Jeffrey said, for the good curry chicken cook. Thank you so much. It's not the same. Because white people did not undergo chattel slavery in this country, and you were not reset as a people, and nobody controlled you biologically, culturally, and environmentally in such a way where you were unable to overcome that for centuries, and all the while undergoing biological damage, cultural damage, and environmental damage to you as a group, as a people. You were not reset and wiped clean. There was no point in this country, in the history of the United States of America, where white people did not have their humanity. Not a single time. Nowhere. Nowhere. Because to date, white men can do some of the most heinous crimes imaginable, and he is able to maintain his humanity. It's not the same. It is done purposely, and it is upkept purposely. The pathology is reinforced purposely. It was done in such a way that we would reinforce it ourselves purposely. It was taught to us in the way that it was taught to us, so that we could embrace it inside of us, so that it would not need to be a constant external push to let us continue in the pathology. That is why it's so insidious, because it's on automatic now. Once you reset a group of people biologically, culturally, and environmentally, and you produce a bioculturon event, and you continue to do so, and then layer them with a lost value system, they're gonna keep themselves in an impoverished, survival only, low level mode. They're going to do it themselves. And that was on purpose. So I'm not going to sit here and even play that game. It's on purpose because when you're Kyrie Irving, when you're a black man that has the audacity to make a decision, a biological decision for your own self and for your own family about what you're not going to allow to be injected inside of you, and then the organization that pay you get mad at you and then try to cancel you because you're a black man that had the audacity to say, you don't control me biologically, I control me biologically. And then they try to cancel him for that. When you Kyrie Irving and you post just a link to something, comment, just a link to something, and then they try to cancel you because you're looking at things from a different perspective about who you are and what group of people you belong to. Because how dare you be a black man trying to control yourself biologically and culturally? You think you're gonna hold your own control biologically and culturally? Because if we let you biologically control yourself and culturally control yourself, then the only thing left is to environmentally control yourself. That knocks me out of power. This is on purpose. Nobody's stupid. See, we not stupid over here at the Crimson Cure channel. Over here at the Crimson Cure channel, we're going to talk about exactly what's going on, the way in which it's going on, and why it's going on. And we're not going to spin our wheels on simplistic ideas like slavery over. So why we keep on having problems? See, we're not going to play dumb. We're not going to play dumb kitty. We're not going to play dumb kitty. We're not going to play like we don't understand biology, culture, and environment. We're not going to play like we don't understand moral, ethics, and legal. We're not going to play like we don't understand that. Because we do understand it. I'm going to make sure my people understand it. We gonna catch up to everybody else's understanding. How about them apples? We are no longer going to walk in ignorance, because ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance has kept us in the dark and squabbling among ourselves and biting each other's heads off and fighting and scrapping among each other, unable to get ahead, unable to think clearly, unable to see the world and see ourselves and understand our position here the way that we ought to understand our position here, in ways that will actually allow us to progress in our thinking, to progress in our understanding of a value system and why we need one, and what value system we actually been operating in and why that has not served us. Thank you again, Utah. So Sister Davis' final question: what do you think should be the consequences for black women who keep upholding the gynocracy willingly? Thanks for answering all my questions. I don't know that there's some type of consequence, but I think they're living their consequences. But the only thing that we need to do is focus on the solutions for us, the solutions for Black people. A value system is the base point. It's the point where we start. It's the point where we got to start. We have to start looking at things in a cohesive manner, historically up into the present. Why am I able in 2023 to go over a Moynihan report that was done in 1965 and the points made in that report still be relevant all these decades later? Why am I able to do that? See, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. Because I shouldn't be able to do that. It should be now irrelevant. But it's not irrelevant. It's just as relevant today as it was in 1965. Even more so because we're so further down the line. Because we're so much more degraded now. Because our family structure is so much more broken, almost irretrievably so. We have so many problems that if we don't start seeing them for what they are, we can kiss it goodbye. And if we have to kiss it goodbye, guess what the rest of the world gonna do? Move on. They're gonna step over our dead carcass and move on. They won't mourn you and they won't care. Thank you, Joe Chill. Thank you so much, sweetheart. We gonna understand how we got here. And we gonna reverse engineer it to understand how to get out. That's what we gonna do. We gonna do that. We gonna do that. Can't tell me no stuff going on in the 1960s and a report made on it and how it has affected Black people and ain't racial. In 1965. That the events leading up to a report that had to be made about what was going on with the Black family wasn't racial. It wasn't racially driven and it wasn't purposely done. We're not going to play that game. I'm not going to play that game at all. Not playing that game. I'm not removing race out of it. Well, let's just try to see it from a different perspective. We take race out. No. We putting race in. Because we didn't start it, but we going to finish it. You wanted everything to be based on race and, you know what I'm saying, segregated this and segregated that, and you wanted to put the law on the books and all. We gonna do it then. Let's do it then. You wanted to codify white supremacy and racism, so it's codified. You wanted to put it everywhere, so now we see it everywhere. Thank you again, Purnell. So that's the one thing conservatives can't stand, the institutional racism debate. Thank you, Iverson. We're going to understand what's going on around here, and we're not going to do it from a victim standpoint. We're not going to be over here mouth long enough to suck peas out of a hot sauce bottle talking about what a white man did. We're not going to do that either. Because I don't promote victim mentality. We thrive and strive for excellence around here. But in order to do that, we're going to have a complete and truthful and honest understanding of how we got to the point that we are and what it takes to dig ourselves out of this hole that we have dug ourselves into. We may be digging the hole, but we certainly didn't create the shovel. And over here on the Crimson Cure channel, we are talking about how to undig the hole. We are talking about why we are busy digging the hole. Why are you digging the hole still? Ain't nobody here to make you dig the hole. You still digging it. Why? We understand moral, ethics, and legal. And we understand that if you change all three of them for an individual or a group of people, if you force such change on them, those people become vulnerable because they then become blank slates. And you can fill that up with whatever you want to fill it up with. I'm sorry that I'm taking so many pauses and that I'm not really reading the report. I really intended to read more of the report here and do my comments, but, you know, I'm not going to just allow certain things to go unspoken on this channel. I'm not here to speak to what other groups of people may have gone through historically in this country or any other. Everybody done went through something. Every group has gone through some hardship at some point. I acknowledge that, but I also don't care. because I'm not here to talk about the other groups. Many times those groups have been able to bounce back and do something different. Black people remain. We remain in the same place that we've been for now hundreds of years now, unable to move forward. So the question here, the question we're answering on the Crimson Cure channel is, why have we been unable to move forward? Let's unpack everything, because the answer is somewhere. So why have we been unable to overcome the hardship that our ancestors went through, and the lasting effects of what they went through, while we still suffering from them? And why are we still suffering from them? It's not good enough to just accept that we still suffer from them, but why? And we're going to have to stop suffering from them, because it is literally destroying us on a biological, a cultural, and environmental level. If a people are destroyed biologically, culturally, and environmentally, they're completely obliterated. They don't exist anymore. They become extinct. We talked about how you extinct a people. We talked about that. Thank you, L. Vincent, says stone them with the rocks of truth. Thank you so much, sweetheart. So what I'm going to do, this is going to continue. We're going to have a show tomorrow, because I have to continue this thought. I'm not going to cut the thought up and extend this into next week. We're going to complete the Moynihan Report. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for their contributions. Very, very appreciated, very generous. I appreciate them. Let me see. Thank you, Antron. Thank you so much for the Cash App. Thank you, Vincent, for your Cash App as well. Thank you, Robert, for your contribution. Ralph, thank you for your contribution as well. And MLR, thank you so much for your contribution as well. Greatly appreciated. Greatly, greatly appreciated. I want to draw everybody's attention to the fact that you can now go to crimsoncure.com and pick up your copy of Reclaiming the Black Feminine, The Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery. On sale now, crimsoncure.com. It's also on sale on Amazon as well. Both of those links are in the description. If you want to talk more about solutions, if you want to get a even deeper perspective and take, and you want content that you will not find on the public face of the channel, then you want to go to my Patreon. My mods have put a link in the chat. The $5 patrons is just for the monetary support. It's the $20. This is where you're going to get access to all of the content, all of the new content that we're putting up on Patreon. At this point, we're doing it once a week on Sunday. There's always going to be new content. And so you definitely want to be there to get that content. I want to once again thank everyone. We're going to continue this. We're going to keep this show going. We got to finish the Moynihan Report. So we're going to have a show tomorrow, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hello, my Crimsonites and all of my supporters. I invite you to go and get your copy of my new book, Reclaiming the Black Feminine, The Lives of Feminism and the Road to Recovery, on sale now at crimsoncure.com. This is guaranteed to change your perspective and positively impact your life. So go ahead now to crimsoncure.com and get your copy today.